Good afternoon. I'm always delighted when I look at the agenda when I'm speaking and realise that I'm the last one before the break, so everyone has a chance to funnel out because they've been sat down for a lot of other things. To those of you that stayed, weirdly, most of you, not that many of you, thank you very much. I'm pleased to be here in Croatia. It's been a while. It's been a few months since I was here. I'm here today to talk about digital transformation. I'm here to talk about intelligent automation. What I'm not going to do is sell to you. I'm not going to talk about a product. I'll do one thing. One of our partners, Tish Group, are out there on the right. They have a stand. Go and talk to them. They'll tell you all about our product. Hopefully you'll want to know more about RPA, about software automation. Who are we? We're quite a big company. We're the biggest automation company in the world. There's about 2,500 of us. We've got lots and lots of customers. We've got lots of digital workers deployed. We operate all over the world. Our customers are everyone, basically, from the top down. Citibank, Ford, Novartis, millions of them. I've been working in the business for 3.5 years. I was the first person in Europe. So I've had the advantage of doing all of it. I've done sales, I've done marketing, I've built wardrobes, I've done partners, I've done services, the lot. And it gives me a fairly unique prism to look at automation. And I want to talk about digital transformation. So, do we all know what digital transformation is? No. So, a digital company is one that uses technology first and people second. When there's a problem to fix, a native digital company will fix it with technology. Legacy companies don't do that. They have that human first, will throw people at the problem. And one of the big things that companies are trying to do is do that digital transformation. And it's very hard. There are lots of things to transform. And I want to talk about how automation can help you do that. So, the world is a hard place if you're a company. This is the average lifespan of a company on the S&P 500, American index, but who cares? It's the same here in Europe. 80 years ago, a company lasted on average for 90 years, a long time. And that has dropped and dropped and dropped. Now, go back 4 or 5 years, companies only last on average for 18 years. And 18 years is not a long time. It's the blink of an eye. And why is this? Well, businesses have many problems. There's a lot more regulation these days. There's a lot more competition. Businesses are more complex. There's much higher customer expectations. And there are outliers. Do you know what this is? It's Brexit. I'm British. I have no idea why we're doing it. And in fact, one of my partners had said, for God's sake, don't talk about Brexit. And I said, no, I want to talk about Brexit. But that's what I'm going to say. It's an outlier. And the whole thing about outliers is you don't know they're coming. Brexit was an outlier. The internet was an outlier, black swan. 9/11 was a horrible outlier. The World Cup semi-final when Croatia beat England, that was an outlier. Who saw that coming? All right, maybe not an outlier. Maybe that's business as usual. And if we look in more detail at some of these challenges, you'll see the scale of the problem. This is the amount of money the American government, and again the numbers are the same for Europe, but this was a lovely graphic. This is how much money they spend on regulation. So over the last 60 years, the amount of money they spend on regulation, and that is the burden that has to be picked up by businesses, has gone from a few tens of millions of dollars to $60 billion a year. The number of people doing it has gone from 55, 60,000 up to over 250,000 people. And all they do is regulate business. And businesses have to conform to those regulations. If we look at the IT landscape, it's increased massively in complexity. And the promise, as we put in all these new technologies, ERP systems, CRM systems, PeopleSoft, Workday, all the HR stuff, the promise from IT. Does anyone here work in an IT department? Yeah, someone I swear just went, maybe not, I won't admit it, but some of you do. The promise every time a new layer of technology went in was it will integrate perfectly with what came before. It'll just work. You work in IT, gentlemen at the front, yeah. Do you have a backlog at the moment of IT projects? Yes. Have you ever met anyone who doesn't have a backlog? No. We think about 20% of the integration was actually done between these layers. But it left this huge gap. And we filled that gap over the last 30, 40 years with people. Where things didn't quite work, we put people in there to fix it. There's a wonderful red flag that tells you when your IT transformation, your IT integration isn't very good. It's called Excel. Because what do you actually use Excel for? You surface data out of an underlying system, a CRM system, an ERP system, you put it into Excel, you do something with it, you manipulate it, you combine it with other data, but you do something, and then you put it back into some underlying system, or into another system. It could be in PowerPoint for a management report. But Excel is this big red flag, because Excel is what humans use to manipulate data rather than doing it in a database. Digital natives are disrupting every industry. I'm afraid, and I apologize, this is a UK-centric slide. But apart from the London taxi cab, which is itself being disrupted massively by Uber, what do all these other businesses have in common? Does anyone know? I can't hear you. Yes, they've all died. They've all gone out of business. They've all been disrupted by Amazon, Netflix, Booking.com. Uber is disrupting the London taxi. And why is this happening? Well, it's pretty obvious. Who uses Uber here? Yeah, do you all use Uber? Okay, brilliant. Why do you use Uber? It's cheap. What else? Easy to use, yeah. Anything else? You feel more comfortable. Comfier seats. Yeah, I know, I'm getting old too. The main reason, you're quite right, it's cheap, easy to use. It's a fantastic experience. I'm a bit of an introvert. I know it may not come out. But when I get in a taxi, often I don't want to talk to the taxi driver, especially not a London taxi driver, because they're very for Brexit and I'm not. So I want to get in, I want to go where I'm going, and I want to get out, and I don't want to have to go, oh, what, you mean you don't take credit cards? And what sort of country is it? I don't want to do that. I just want to get out and go. Uber is a fantastic experience. Netflix is a fantastic experience. All of these are better at serving their customers. That's why people use them. So there's this very, very unlevel playing field at the moment between those native digital companies. And that level playing field manifests itself in lots of ways. Cost, accuracy, speed, and that customer experience. Because those native digital companies look at the world in a different way. I used to work for Amazon. I used to work for a guy called Sebastian Gunningham. He's in the news again now. He's one of the new co-CEOs of WeWork. He's brilliant. He's a really good guy, super, super smart. And we were doing a new project, we were launching something in the UK, and I had my meeting with him, I said, right, we're going to do this, 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 and here we're going to hire a couple of people, and there, and he went, whoa, stop. This bit, yeah, that's fine. This bit here, where you're hiring 2 people, nah, don't do it. Figure out a way to do it with technology instead. And that's the mindset of a native digital company. And if you're not a native digital company, A, you need technology, you need to automate, but you need to change that mindset. You need to not think, right, I'll get a person. No. How do you get technology to do it? More problems for businesses. More and more data is flooding into every company. And data is lovely. We love data. It's the lifeblood of any company. It lets us make decisions, pivot our business to take advantage of the market. But there's more and more of it. There are more complex systems. There is more instrumentation in those systems. There's more integration. And they're, again, outliers. A big outlier, Internet of Things. Hundreds of thousands, millions of devices all saying, hi, I'm here, and I'm at 33 degrees centigrade. I have no idea why Internet of Things is obsessed with temperature, but it is. They all tell you how hot they are. And a lot of that data is dark data, unstructured or semi-structured data. Think when you're at your desk, when you're working, think how relatively little you see in way of structured data, how few spreadsheets you see, database dumps you see, compared to how many emails you read, how many documents you read, how many presentations you sit through. And that data is unstructured. At best, it's semi-structured, but it's hard for a computer to deal with. To deal with that semi-structured data, that unstructured data, you need artificial intelligence. You need something that can think more like a human, that can read an email and figure out, is this a customer trying to leave, or is this customer trying to buy more stuff? If that was in a spreadsheet, column A, 1 for I want to leave, 2 for I want to buy more stuff, easy. But that's not how the data arrives at your business. You need AI to be able to process that. So that combination, automation and artificial intelligence, machine learning, intelligent automation is the future. And we'll see, or we have to see, a change of paradigm from having a whole load of people doing stuff to having a digital workforce. And that digital workforce will consist of 3 chunks. There'll be people doing stuff. There'll be people augmented by computers. And there'll be computers on their own doing things that computers are very good at doing. there are some tasks that computers are brilliant at. Let's go back to Uber. You said what a great experience Uber is. So the equivalent of Uber, where I live, and I live in the middle of the country, is a woman called Brenda. And I phone up Brenda, and I go, hello. And she goes, hello, James. That's how small my town is. And she goes, which pub are you in? Because that's why I want a taxi. And I say, I'm in the Standard. She goes, very good. I'll try and find a driver. And I hear her going, Dave, where are you? Dave, what do you mean you're in Chatteris? Why are you in Chatteris? There's no need. You're asleep? Why do you answer the phone? It's a really bad experience. Because actually, finding out where is there a car, so interrogating a GPS system or phoning Dave, finding out which car's free, finding out which driver's free and which one's closer to me, it's a brilliant task for a computer to do because it's entirely data-driven. All I want is the closest car with a free driver, yeah? Whereas having Brenda phone lots of people and find out where they are and ask them why they're in Chatteris, you don't know where Chatteris is, but you never want to go there, trust me. That's not a great task for a person. So we'll end up with a new paradigm. We'll end up with this, we'll go from a human workforce to a digital workforce. And for me, this middle bit is really interesting. People augmented by technology. Do you all know who this is? Gary Kasparov, chess grandmaster, arguably the finest chess player of all time. Certainly, if you ask Gary Kasparov himself, he will say yes. I was the finest chess player of all time. We do some big customer experience shows around the world called Imagine. This is a picture from our one in April this year in London. And we had Gary Kasparov as a keynote speaker. And he was very good. And I got 5 minutes with him, which sounds lovely. But in fact, it wasn't that lovely. I got told by my CEO, quick, James, run down to reception, find Gary Kasparov and bring it back up to me. So off I went. And I got 5 minutes with Gary Kasparov. And I play chess. I used to play a lot against my dad. And I asked him a question. And the question was this. Because remember, Gary Kasparov is famous for his 2 matches against the IBM supercomputer, against Deep Blue. He won one, he lost one. So my question was, Gary, because we were friends by now, who was the hardest opponent you've ever played? Was it Deep Blue? Was it the supercomputer? Or was it one of the other greats from the golden era of chess? Fischer, Karpov? And he went, no, neither. I said, really? He goes, no, neither. I said, well, who was it? And he says, well, I don't do it anymore because it's humiliating because I get destroyed every time and I hate to lose. Greatest chess player of all time. But he says the hardest opponent I ever play is an average club player, a journeyman player, supported by a computer. Because that combination of human creativity, ingenuity, a little bit of unpredictability, combined with that perfect, relentless, remorseless intellect and recall that a computer has. Every single move, perfect statistical analysis. If you do this move, 58% of the time, white won. If you do this move, 43% of the time, black won. That combination, he said, is unplayable. He said, I don't do those matches anymore because it's just not fun. I know what's going to happen. I lose within 25 minutes. So that combination is key. And we need to think about that combination. How do you augment people with technology? And I can sum this up very easily, what a computer can do that we can't. The lady there in the, who's nodding earlier, what were the first 5 words you wrote in your first email of the day in January 2004? You don't know. And it's an unfair question. How would you be expected to know? No one would remember that, not a single person in this room. But you go to a computer and you ask the same question and it knows, because that's how computers work. They have that perfect recall. They're digital devices. We are not. So augmenting human workers with digital workers, taking that gap, that integration gap from all that complexity we have in the workplace today, all those applications, and where now we have a gap filled with humans, we need to change that. So if we instead fill that gap with humans and digital workers, you see a lot of benefits. You reduce cost, you reduce complexity, you increase accuracy, you increase morale. You go to anyone in your workforce and say, hey, you know that really boring 5 hours you do a day, like moving numbers from here to here, opening up a spreadsheet, take all the things, put in your ERP system, a new spine, We're going to take that away from you. We're going to let you do the interesting bits, the creative bits, the bits where you come up with new plans, you try new ideas, you talk to other people, the things only humans can do. Is that a good thing for them? I think so. Anytime somebody says, hey, I'm going to take this really rubbish bit of your job work, we're going to automate it, I'm delighted. And we've seen a huge evolution over the last 5-6 years in automation technology. Starting off pre-RPA, no automation, or little bits of automation specific to applications. And then 4 or 5 years ago, RPA hit the enterprise market, and companies started to automate at scale, and we saw the first deployments of 50 bots, 500 bots, a few thousand bots. Then we added onto that artificial intelligence to deal with those high-hanging fruit. That's soft data, that's semi-structured, unstructured data, real-time analytics. Why are real-time analytics important? Because the world doesn't run on weeks and quarters. The world runs on 5 or 15-minute chunks. If you're a marketplace, a third-party seller on the Amazon marketplace, Amazon price match against you. We all know that. How often they do that? About every 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes, Amazon look at all the pricing that people have been kind enough to show them and say, hey, we're going to change our pricing strategies because we have all that data. And they do it in real time. The world works in real time. Somebody takes out a mortgage. You've got a very small window to go to that person and say, hey, we'd like to offer you either sell that data to a removal company or we'd like to offer you a home improvement loan or something. But that real-time analytics is key. It's much underrated. Moving on, cloud and marketplace. This is now about scale. Why do you put platforms in the cloud? Easy to deploy, easy to scale, reduction of costs. RPA is now catching up with the ERP systems and CRM systems. And marketplaces, if you're in IT, you never build when you can buy. All software, I'm a software engineer, all software is written library upon library upon library upon library. You never ever write software from scratch. Because literally the first thing you'd have to do is say, how do I put a dot on the screen? All right, and then how do I do that lots of times to do an A? And then how do I do that lots of times to do a word? And you build it up from there. And we don't do that. So why would you build an automation when you could go and buy one that somebody's already built and tailor it to your needs? Put all this together and we end up, for us, we think where the market is heading, where we are now, what we're talking about, digital workers. Don't automate piecemeal. Say we've got a whole function here, accounts payable or accounts receivable or HR onboarding. So automate all the things you need to do to automate that whole function. Think if you're hiring a human worker and you're doing accounts payable, you'd say there's probably 4 or 5 things you need to do. You need to be able to operate the process, you need to handle outliers, you need to do management reporting, you need to add a new supply management, add a new supplier to your database. So automate all those things, wrap them all together. Hey, presto, you've got a digital worker for accounts payable. And I think we'll look back in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, and say, hey, do you remember when we used to have humans doing that stuff? Isn't that weird? In the same way that now, if I said, I've got someone who works in my office, and every time I have a whole load of numbers and have them in columns and rows, they add them all up, do a total, and they do the average, and then they cross-reference it or whatever, you'd say, why? Why not use a spreadsheet? But people used to do that. And now we look back and go, wow, imagine having people doing that instead of technology. So we've got level 2 automation, RPA, rules-based automation. We've got AI, intelligent automation, self-learning, unstructured, semi-structured data, smart analytics, marketplaces, cloud for ease of deployment, for scale. Because scale is a very interesting word. The reality in automation, if you're doing an RPA automation in your company, an RPA project, is if you automate 3 things, 4 things, and you save $50,000 a year, $100,000, do you know what? No one cares. Not a single person. You go into your CFO's office and say, hey, look, I've done this. And they go, why are you here? And who are you? And get out. You go in and say, we've done 400 automations. We're saving $5 million, $10 million, $20 million a year. And there are countless references out there of people who are doing that. People care. And I started off this whole thing talking about transformation. To transform, you have to do it at scale. Doing a few small things is not transformation. Doing it across an enterprise, using things like marketplaces, using cloud deployment, using digital worker paradigms, all of those things drive towards scale. And scale is what people care about because scale is transformation. Jumped ahead of this slide. And if you scale within the company, if you build it, people will come. The trick to a successful automation rollout is keep momentum going. Show people what they can get out of it. Everyone wants to be a hero. Everyone wants to do stuff that benefits themselves in their career. So make it available. Let them scale. And you will find across your business, pocket after pocket after pocket, where you can automate. The obvious places, finance, procurement, HR. Less obvious places, logistics, operations, whatever it is that you do, there'll be things in there where you've got people doing stuff that computers are better suited to doing. I was trying to get an image that's somewhat scale. Does anyone know what this is? Come on, someone must know this picture. Yes. This is the final Foley from the final scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Brilliant film. My era. I'm old. And it's meant to simplify, the crate with the Lost Ark of the Covenant in it, this huge, impossibly huge warehouse. And it made me think about scale. And there are lots of things you need scale. You need a platform that scales. You need artificial intelligence. You need to have customer success programs. You need to be able to handle all the different paradigms around automation, attended, unattended. You need partner programs. You need enablement programs. You need large-scale references you can look at and copy, good commercial models, all that stuff. And unless you have all of those things, you'll struggle to scale. So whatever you're doing around automation, look for these things. Whoever you're talking to, if you've got a partner, it's okay, tell me about attended and unattended automation. Tell me about intelligent automation. How good's your enablement program? Do you have any large-scale references? And if you get good answers to all those things, you will succeed. I absolutely guarantee it. No one ever fails because the technology doesn't work. They fail because they go too small and too slow. So, what does the future hold? What's that? Any whale experts? A beluga whale? Yes. I made the mistake the other week saying it's a blue whale, and I found the only whale expert in Dusseldorf who stood and said, no, it's a beluga whale. So yes, you're quite right. This is the modern enterprise. It's a legacy enterprise. It's big, it's quite successful, we quite like it. It's quite cuddly, relatively slow to change direction, but it works, it succeeds. This is a killer cyber shark from the 21st century. This is the native digital competition. It's relentless. It's not encumbered by all that legacy, all those people doing things. This is a native digital business that has built itself from the ground up on technology. And it is coming to eat your lunch. You will be another Woolworths, you'll be another Blockbuster, you'll be the London taxi cab. Because if you're not automating, you're not taking automation and that change to being a digital company seriously, these competitors will eat you alive. Because they have advantages, the world is a hard, hard place, and they will take everything you have. This is my last slide. Don't know if you can see it, but this is, year 1900, Fifth Avenue, New York. And these were all horse-drawn carts. And the red circle there is a car. This is the same place, 13 years later, not a single horse. So 13 years, an incredibly short period of time. And if you think about it, it's not just that they got rid of all the horses and bought a load of cars. They needed to design the cars, build the cars, buy the cars. They needed a whole infrastructure, whole ecosystem in place. You need better roads, you need petrol. You need petrol stations, you need refineries, you need trucks going from the refineries to the petrol stations, you need servicing, you need those little fluffy dice that hang in the, in the mirror of your car. But all those things in only 13 years. That's incredible. So why did it happen so fast? It happened so fast because the car is much, much, much better than the horse. A car or a lorry will go all day. It's cheaper, it's more reliable, it's faster, it doesn't shit everywhere. Yeah, these are big advantages, especially in a city. I live in the country, I don't care. But the car was much better, so consumers and businesses both wanted to adopt the automobile, and they adopted it very, very quickly. If you're a taxi driver and you're not looking at Uber seriously, you're making a big mistake, because Uber, as we know from my friend down here, Uber is a much, much better experience, and people will migrate to it. Netflix is a better experience than Blockbuster. Some of the challenger banks provide amazing experiences that are better than their bricks and mortar legacy competitors. That's how fast everything will move. That's it. Thank you very much.